Sacramento Kings fans, I really don't know what else to tell you other than this season, basketball-wise, is over. The Sacramento Kings just lost by 41 points to the Memphis Grizzlies without John Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. For the second game in 8 days, the Kings veterans completely quit. And before the game even started, we found out Domantas Sabonis will be out the next 3 to 4 weeks with a left knee injury. Kings fans are done watching this basketball team. Now their eyes turn to Scott Perry, his front office, and what they can do to build some sort of future. You are listening to Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all season long. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter for ABC 10 News. I'm here in a different location in the ABC 10 studios, as far away as I could get from my colleagues who are trying to get some work done today, because I don't know how loud I'm going to be on this podcast. It's not that I expected the Sacramento Kings to win this game. I really didn't. And when we saw the news about Domantas Sabonis being out the next 3 to 4 weeks with a partially torn meniscus in his left knee, Shams reported that a few hours before game time. I was already planning and ready right then and there to start recording the podcast and talking about this season's a wash. The Kings need to kind of just accept where they're at as a team and look to the future and treat the remainder of this season the proper way. And we'll talk about what that way is. But then I watched that performance game travesty that the Sacramento Kings just put all of us through, taking on a Memphis Grizzlies team that was 4-11 coming into tonight's game. 4-11, and the Kings just lost to them 137-96. The Kings now 3-13 to start the season. This isn't the Oklahoma City Thunder that beat you by 41. It's not even the Minnesota Timberwolves or the San Antonio Spurs who beat you by 41. In the last 8 days, the Kings have lost by 41 points to the Grizzlies, trailed by 44 points to the Atlanta Hawks. To be fair, they cut it down to a 33-point loss. Yay, that's way better at home. But regardless, the two teams that the Kings have gotten obliterated by, the Hawks and the Grizzlies. Not the Thunder, not the T-Wolves, not even the Spurs. Right? This is why I wasn't celebrating the Kings. Oh, they looked better. They competed better against OKC last night. Who cares? Because this is who this team is. A bunch of veterans who quit again. And that is one of the worst accusations that you could make in sports, calling a team or calling a player a quitter. But this team has quit. They are pathetic. There's no better way. There's no sugarcoating it. They're pathetic. No heart, no fight, no pride, no intensity, no level of competing, no effort. They just laid down and let the pathetic Memphis Grizzlies, and I don't mean that disrespectfully towards Memphis, even though it sounds very disrespectful. The Grizzlies aren't good either. And you let them steamroll you. You have a roster consisting of DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Russell Westbrook. I know Domantas Sabonis didn't play, but those three are still former stars in this league. Two of them future Hall of Famers. Those three just lost to a Grizzlies team featuring Santi Aldama that scored 29 points on 11 of 18 shooting. Jock Landale, who scored 21 points on 8 of 9 shooting. Zach Edey, carved up the Sacramento Kings and looked like prime Shaq, who could also knock down threes. Like, this Kings team is an embarrassment. If these veterans don't want to play, fine. Sit them, send them home, and tell them to wait for a phone call from their agent that they've been traded. Like, what's the point? What's the point in playing these guys? Like, I'm watching DeMar DeRozan out there. DeMar doesn't look like he has any interest in playing seriously for the Sacramento Kings. Zach LaVine scored, 26 points? Who cares? At least he shot the ball a little bit tonight. Not like he did anything important. Like, this veteran-laden roster should be absolutely embarrassed in themselves. But you know what the problem is? You know what really bothers me, even if it's a valid argument? These players are going to be able to get traded, move on, leave Sacramento, and blame this entire saga on the Kings organization. Now, I know the Kings organization is terrible, starting with ownership, and a lot of you have wanted me to talk about ownership. I am going to talk about ownership at the end of this podcast. I know the organization is really, really bad, and they've been really, really bad for a long time, with the exception of a couple really fun years recently. But these players do not deserve the pass of, I'm playing for the Kings, so it doesn't matter. It's going to really annoy me, and I like and respect the heck out of DeMar DeRozan and the incredible career that he's had. It's going to really annoy me that no one's going to ever remember the Sacramento Kings seasons of DeMar DeRozan's career, and when they do, it's going to be, it was Sacramento. It was just Sacramento. Not the fact that since DeMar came here, the Kings went from the beam team to a total disaster. Again, that's not all DeMar DeRozan's fault, but he was a major part of that. DeMar DeRozan was one of the group of players that the Sacramento Kings chose over the only head coach that they've had that's been good for almost 2 decades, and the only star that they had in De'Aaron Fox. And they completely botched that De'Aaron Fox trade so bad that we might be well in the early years of another long playoff drought. I'll talk about all that later on in the podcast. But if Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Russell Westbrook, who still plays hard even if he's not playing well, Dennis Schroeder, any of them, I don't care. If they don't want to play, fine. Don't play them. Like, I would hope Doug Christie could go to each one of them, look at them in the eye and go, do you care about what we're doing here? Do you want to play, or do you want to just sit at home, stay healthy, and the organization will do their best to send you to a new location where you can finish out your careers or finish out your season, and the Kings can hopefully recoup some value for you? I hope Doug can ask every single one of those players. I hope Scott Perry can call and ask every single one of those players, do you want to do it? He's talked about we don't want hostages, we want volunteers. His rosters look like a bunch of hostages. The veterans on this team have looked like a bunch of hostages for almost 2 weeks. Get them out of here if they don't want to play. And until you can trade them, if what we're waiting on is the rest of the league to decide they're ready to trade, if that's what we're waiting on, then send them home or have them just chill on the bench. Let them collect their paychecks and have a great time. Like, this is embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the city of Sacramento to have to watch their organization have one of the most talented big name rosters that has ended up being one of the worst teams we've ever seen in Sacramento. And that's saying something. Almost 2 decades of a playoff drought we sat through here in Sacramento. And I don't remember it ever being this bad. Because they never, even when they won just 17 games, they never started a season out this bad. 3-13. Pathetic. Truly pathetic. The Kings turned the ball over 17 times, leading to 30 Grizzlies points. They allowed this Grizzlies team to shoot 51% from the field. The Grizzlies had 113 points in 3 quarters. Once again, the Kings' offense couldn't break 100. 42 Grizzlies assists to just 8 turnovers. The Grizzlies stunted all over the Kings in this game. Absolutely and completely embarrassed them. And who knows if this loss is going to drastically impact the Grizzlies and their draft lottery odds. That's for them to worry about. the Sacramento Kings have to worry about themselves. And the rest of this season is about Scott Perry and what he and this front office can do. There are some things on the basketball court to watch and to pay attention to. And we'll talk about those things. But for the most part, this season is about Scott Perry, this front office, and getting these veterans the heck out of here and taking whatever you can in return for them. If you can only get 2 second-round picks to get rid of DeMar DeRozan, then take 2 second-round picks and get them out of here. I don't care. Get them out. Move on. Move forward. Because this is unacceptable. Completely unacceptable on all levels. This episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by Quo. Let's talk about something every business owner knows too well: missed calls. When a customer tries to reach you and can't get through, that's money slipping away. Quo, spelled Q-U-O, is the smarter way to run your business communications so you never miss an opportunity. Quo is the #1 business phone system built for 2025, not 1995. It's simple, modern, and designed to help you communicate faster, look more professional, and stay connected wherever you are working. Quo works right from an app on your phone or on your computer. You don't have to worry about any extra devices or no clunky landlines. Your whole team can share one number and collaborate on calls and texts like a shared inbox, which means customers get help faster. Plus, the built-in AI is a game changer. It logs your calls, writes summaries, and even sets up follow-ups automatically. And if you can't answer the phone, this is the big thing, Quo's AI agent jumps in. It can qualify leads, route calls, and make sure that no customer is left hanging ever, even after your business hours. It makes small businesses feel big and big businesses feel efficient. No wonder over 90,000 businesses are already using Quo. Try Quo for free at quo.com/lockedonnba. That's QUO.com/lockedonnba. And yes, you can even keep your existing number. Quo will port it over at no extra cost. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Locked On Kings is also brought to you by RobinhoodYou. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, or I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where RobinhoodYou comes in. RobinhoodYou.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. RobinhoodYou makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor. It's 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's all about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. So visit RobinhoodYou, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. That's RobinhoodYou.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know that we sent you. RobinhoodYou, stop making excuses and start making moves. Scott Perry, my friend, all eyes are on you. Sacramento Kings fans certainly don't want to have to watch this Sacramento Kings team play anymore. I mean, just 16 games into the season, 16 games in, and this is the product that these fans are forced to watch, that season ticket holders had to pay a hiked up price to go and see in person. I don't know what those crowds are going to look like in December and beyond. I don't even know what the crowds are going to look like in this upcoming homestand unless Scott Perry and the Sacramento Kings do something to actually put a future on the table in front of this fan base that is supported decades upon decades of losing. Why? Because they had hope that something that they were watching could turn into something great. There's nothing about this roster that gives Kings fans that kind of hope. And that in itself is the biggest failure in front of this front office that, yes, inherited a lot of this roster, but now it's on them to fix it. That's what they're getting paid to do. That's their job. So Scott Perry, I know it's not your mess, but you got to clean it up. And again, we'll talk about ownership. Vivek Ranadive in just a little bit. I shared with you last week what I learned the plan is in Sacramento. And I shared with you the first phase of the plan that the Kings are in right now, the evaluation phase. Well, screw the evaluation phase. What more do you need to see? You know what you have. More importantly, you know who doesn't want to be here. You know who the hostages are. And again, if the waiting right now is not you not wanting to trade these players yet, if the waiting is for the teams, the contenders, to be ready and willing and able to trade for some of these guys when trade season begins or opens like mid-December onward, if that's what you're waiting for, then again, have an honest conversation with these players, these veterans. If you don't want to play, stay home. And even if they say, I do want to play, well, that's great. You're going to have your minutes cut until you actually start either showing some heart or you fully commit words and actions to what we're trying to do here and where we're trying to build. And even then, if I know you don't fit, I'm still cutting your minutes. Right? There's no reason for DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Domantas Sabonis when he comes back to play 35 or more minutes a night. There's zero reason. You're not winning basketball games. It doesn't matter. Now, you don't have to completely cut all their minutes down to zero unless you just send them home and they're not even there. You don't have to do that. But play them 20 to 25 minutes. You want to start them so they still get their names up in lights and they can still claim to be a starter and it looks good on their stats? Fine. I don't care. But Nick Clifford, Keon Ellis, Keegan Murray, Devin Carter, Maxime Reynaud, Dylan Cardwell, those are the guys that need to be playing consistently for the remainder of this season, unless you don't believe one or more of those guys are part of your future either. Then don't play them either. If that's Devin Carter, then don't play Devin Carter. Like, in terms of basketball, the only basketball that matters for the Kings for the remainder of this season until some changes are made, the only basketball that matters right now is those names. And to be completely honest with you, and I'll talk about this more on a different podcast because I don't have time tonight. If I was Keon Ellis's friend, if I was Keon Ellis's agent in his camp advising him, I would tell him, dude, you need to get the heck out of Sacramento. Like, why would you want to re-sign there? I know ultimately money talks. Money's going to do the most talking. If the Kings put the amount of money in front of Keon Ellis that is more than what he wants, more than what he expects, more than what his value is, or more than what other teams are willing to give him, then money will talk and he'll ultimately stay. Although I know that the Kings are not interested in overpaying for Keon Ellis. So if that's the case, like, 10 guys played in this game before Keon Ellis got any playing time for Doug Christie and the Sacramento Kings tonight in this game. Like, if I'm Keon Ellis, get me the heck out of here, man. The Kings sure have a strange way of trying to woo him and keep him around, if they're even still trying to, which they tell me they are. I've been told that they are. But they have a very, very strange way of showing it. Again, I need to see Keegan, Neek, Max, Devin, Keon. These are the guys that I need to see playing extended minutes for the remainder of this season. That's the basketball that matters. Not whatever the heck. We can't even call what the Kings are doing right now basketball. Just pathetic quitting. But here's the thing. Like, I know a lot of people are really frustrated with Doug Christie right now. I guess I get it. I think a lot of it is unfair to some extent because, just like with the Mike Brown situation, I never blamed the coaching. The coaching could certainly be better. Rotational decisions like playing Keon Ellis and the young guys more certainly could be better. But I don't put this mess, this disaster on Doug Christie. That being said, I think Kings ownership and management owes it to Doug Christie to empower him. Hey, if you play the young guys, if you start taking away minutes from these veterans who give you a better chance to win, I guess, and give it to these young guys, disperse it amongst these young guys who actually have a chance of being part of this future that we don't have yet, and this identity that we haven't established yet. You can do that. You do not have to worry about winning games with this god-awful roster and this god-awful core of veterans that have quit on you twice already, you don't have to worry about winning games with that group in order to save your job. Because if they don't empower Doug, if Doug is afraid that he's going to lose his job if he doesn't somehow win basketball games, I don't blame him for not wanting to throw all of his minutes at these young guys. What's in it for him? He doesn't care about the Kings' future really beyond these next couple of years because he'll be fired anyway. And I know Doug Christie loves Sacramento, loves this organization, wants this fan base to succeed. But even I, with the connections that I have to all of you and to this organization and the love that I have for the Kings, if I were working for the organization and I knew that I wasn't part of their long-term plan, even I would be like, then why would I give my all? Why would I do what needs to be done or that you think needs to be done for the rewards and benefit of years in the future that I won't be a part of? It's probably how Monty McNair felt over the last season of his time as the general manager of Sacramento last year, if we're being completely honest. The Kings need ownership, front office, Scott Perry. If they're truly on the same page with Doug Christie, they need to be able to empower him to say, we trust you as the green, we give you the green light. If you want to play these young guys, if this is the stage that we're going into, you can play those young guys without fear of losing your job because you're losing games with these young guys. I mean, you're losing games anyway. I would respect Doug Christie more for doing what needs to be done for the future of this organization than for continuing to throw this sorry group out there that doesn't even want to be here. There is some good news. Believe it or not, there is some good news to where the Sacramento Kings are at. They learned 16 games in that they're not going to accomplish their short-sighted goal of being a playoff team. They learned 16 games in that this team has really no chance of being competitive consistently because seemingly they don't want to be. And you learned that not as a 12-15 team that's 2 games out of a play-in spot that feels obligated to still fight for it. You learned that as a 3-13 team. Really, you learned it before that. But now the Kings are 3-13. They're one of the 5 worst teams in the NBA. This is a really strong draft. You're shaping up to have really strong lottery odds. You have full control of all your picks. And as much as these assets are quitting on you in real time, you have tradable assets on this roster. Like, there is more than enough here for Scott Perry to actually, truly start a rebuild or put some sort of future in front of the Sacramento Kings. And if he can do that, if he can bring in a player that's 22 or 23 years or younger, that fits the identity, at least on paper, makes sense to the identity that the Sacramento Kings are looking for. A player that can line up next to Keegan Murray and Nick Clifford on a nightly basis and give the Sacramento Kings fan base something to be at least a little bit hopeful or bare minimum curious about. That's when the basketball this season will matter again. Because right now, the basketball could not matter less to this fan base. This episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is also brought to you by Skims. When Skims announced they were making underwear for men, the reaction made perfect sense. People have been talking about Skims comfort for years. Most guys, though, they stick to whatever they've been buying since college, myself included. My wife hates it. But I finally made a change, right? No more of the same fits, the same waistbands that roll, and a whole lot of settling. Skims Men's changed all that. One upgrade, and it's obvious why everybody has been talking. They're designed to feel good, fit right, and actually stay put. No slipping, no sagging, no adjusting. Just genuinely great underwear that makes you feel confident and comfortable. What stood out right away was the fit and the fabric. It's soft, it's supportive, comfortable all day for whatever lifestyle, whether you're sitting at the desk or you're out having an active lifestyle, you're going to the gym, you're chasing your kids around the house, whatever you are doing, they don't ride up, they don't lose their shape, and they hit exactly where they're supposed to on the thigh, whether you're working, traveling, working out, just hanging at home. These feel better than anything that you've used before. I honestly, truthfully, did not expect underwear to be a game changer, but Skims completely surprised me. Shop Skims Men's now at skims.com, and when you place your order, choose podcast in the post-purchase survey to show, or rather, and select our show from the drop-down to let them know that we sent you. Plus, the Skims holiday shop is open now, so if you're looking for the perfect gift this season, Skims has got you covered. And Locked On Kings is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, a lot of you have been calling for a while for me to speak candidly about Sacramento Kings ownership and their part in all this. And to be completely honest with you, I have at times repeatedly over the last 11 months. And I use 11 months specifically because we're approaching the anniversary of the Sacramento Kings firing Mike Brown. Now, before you roll your eyes or click off this podcast because you're sick and tired of hearing me talk about Mike Brown and De'Aaron Fox, understand I'm going to bring them up in the context of the decision-making of this organization, specifically ownership, and reference it as context. I'm not going to get on my soapbox about Mike Brown should have never been fired or De'Aaron Fox should have never been traded or blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm not going to do that because it's tired. I understand you're tired of it, and it's in the past. But it's worth acknowledging because this organization continues to make mistakes. I'm not even talking about the last decade. Again, let's just talk about the last 11 months. Vivek Ranadive and Kings ownership chose players, many of which are still on this roster right now and actively quitting in real time for Doug Christie, who they all seemingly love and respect, who are 3-13 through 16 games to start this season. You chose those players over Mike Brown, the only successful head coach that you've had in nearly 20 years, and by proxy, De'Aaron Fox, the best star that's actually gotten you wins, sorry DeMarcus Cousins, that you've had in the last 20 years. And again, we don't have to talk or go down the rabbit hole of the things Mike Brown did right, the mistakes Mike Brown made, the things De'Aaron Fox did right, the mistakes that De'Aaron Fox made. I know that De'Aaron Fox was very checked out towards the end of his time here in Sacramento. He was called a snake by members of this fan base. You know why he was checked out? Because Vivek Ranadive and Kings ownership fired his head coach after he told them, I'm not playing for another one. The organization, ownership, forced that decision upon a lame duck general manager and his assistant general manager who bounced before the season was even over. Like, they saw the writing on the wall. So we know where those decisions came from. And one thing that I said, I retweeted the tweet. You can go and find it. You can go back and listen to the podcasts from last year around the trade deadline time when we knew De'Aaron Fox was going to be traded at some point. We just didn't know if it was going to be at the deadline or if the Kings were going to wait till the summertime, which they should have done. But I said the Kings cannot screw up the De'Aaron Fox trade. The Kings cannot get that wrong because if they do, it's going to set them right back on a path to another long playoff drought. And what did they do? They traded De'Aaron Fox for Vivek Ranadive's boy, or one of the boys that Vivek Ranadive has wanted here in Sacramento for years. There's been a list of them, and they've come through. Zach LaVine, Buddy Hield, Nick Stauskas, guys that Vivek Ranadive wanted. I say all that to say this. The point is, the Sacramento Kings need to get out of their own way. No matter who you want to blame, whether it's ownership, whether it's the front office, coaching staff, players, whoever, they need to get out of their own way. Scott Perry and this organization need to start from the ground up. That doesn't mean getting rid of every single player, and I'm aware my light keeps going out. I'm just powering through it. That doesn't mean that every single player needs to go. But you need to start from the ground up and analyze every aspect of this organization and what is a good basketball decision versus what is a decision of someone who should not be making basketball decisions. The Sacramento Kings will play the Denver Nuggets to wrap up this road trip. Friendly reminder, I will not be doing a post-game podcast after that game because I will be on vacation at the time. This vacation is coming at the perfect time for me, let me tell you. But before I go on that vacation, I'll have one more Locked On Kings podcast for you. My friend Chris Watkins from Sacktown Sports 1140 will join me on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Kings. For now, my light is quitting just like the Sacramento Kings did. So I'm going to call it a night. Appreciate your support as always. Feel free to leave your thoughts, rant, say what you got to say in the comment section. Reach me on Twitter at MattGeorgeSack. Email me, MattGeorgeSports@gmail.com. I'll see you next time on the next Locked On Kings podcast. Come on, Light. I'm doing an outro. You've been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.